Jeffrey Epstein was a name that became synonymous with wealth, power, and ultimately, horrific crimes. He was an American financier who managed to build an extensive network of connections that reached into the highest echelons of society across the globe. These connections included prominent politicians, business leaders, academics, and even royalty, making him a figure of considerable influence and honestly, a lot of intrigue. His ability to cultivate these relationships was a key part of his public persona, and he was often seen at lavish parties and events with well-known individuals. The source of his immense wealth, however, was often shrouded in a degree of mystery, which just added to the complex picture of the man before his downfall became a major international news story. A story that, to this day, continues to raise some really serious questions. The reason people remain so intensely interested in Jeffrey Epstein even after his death centers on the appalling nature of his crimes and the identities of those who were associated with him. Epstein was accused, and later convicted in Florida, of serious offenses involving the sexual abuse and trafficking of underage girls. In 2019, he faced new federal charges for sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. His subsequent death in a Manhattan jail cell, ruled a suicide, while awaiting trial on these federal charges, only fueled further speculation and a demand for transparency regarding his operations and his extensive list of contacts. Many believe that his death prevented a full public reckoning and the exposure of all individuals who might have been involved or complicit in his activities, which is a primary driver for the ongoing public interest. The Epstein files refer to a collection of documents, including flight logs from his private jets, personal calendars, testimonies, and other legal papers that have emerged through various lawsuits and investigations. Most notably, a defamation case involving his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, and one of his accusers, Virginia Giuffre. People are incredibly keen to see these files made public in their entirety because there is a widespread belief that they could shed more light on the scope of Epstein's criminal enterprise. The hope is that these documents might reveal the names of other powerful individuals who were either clients, enablers, or co-conspirators in his sex trafficking ring. The partial release of some documents has already caused significant public discussion, and the anticipation for further disclosures remains exceptionally high due to the gravity of the alleged offenses. The intense public and media focus on Epstein and his associates stems from the shocking betrayal of trust and the exploitation of vulnerable young women. The list of his known associates is long and reads like a who's who of the global elite, which naturally leads to questions about who knew what and when they knew it. The potential for these files to implicate more well-known figures keeps the story in the headlines and fuels a desire for accountability. For many, the Epstein saga represents a dark intersection of power, wealth, and abuse, and the unsealing of related documents is seen as a crucial step towards achieving some measure of justice for the victims and holding all responsible parties accountable for their actions, however prominent they may be. Donald Trump's name often emerges in discussions about Jeffrey Epstein primarily because, like many other public figures, he had a known association with the financier, particularly during the 1990s and early 2000s. Both men were prominent in New York and Palm Beach, Florida, social circles, and they were photographed together on several occasions. Epstein was a guest at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, and they reportedly flew on Trump's private plane at least once in the past. This historical connection, established long before Epstein's most serious crimes became widely public knowledge and led to his later convictions and federal charges, forms the basis for the continued scrutiny and the questions that arise whenever Epstein's network is discussed in the media or in legal contexts. Looking at past statements, in a 2002 interview with New York Magazine, Donald Trump spoke positively about Jeffrey Epstein. Trump was quoted as saying, "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy, he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." At the time of this statement, Epstein had not yet faced the more severe charges that would later define his public image. It is important to contextualize this comment within that specific time frame. Following Epstein's 2008 conviction in Florida for soliciting prostitution with a minor, and certainly after the more extensive federal charges in 2019, Trump publicly distanced himself from Epstein, stating they had a falling out many years prior. Further mentions of Donald Trump have appeared in some court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's activities, though it is crucial to note what these documents actually state. For instance, Trump's name was mentioned in unsealed filings connected to a lawsuit brought by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell. However, these specific mentions did not include any allegations of wrongdoing or illegal activity on Trump's part. The documents indicated that Epstein and Trump were on good terms at one point, and described interactions such as flights, but they did not provide evidence of Trump's involvement in Epstein's criminal conduct. The context of these mentions is often about establishing the social circles Epstein moved in rather than implicating every named individual in criminal acts. In more recent years, particularly after Epstein's 2019 arrest, Trump has stated that he was not a fan of Epstein and claimed to have banned him from his Mar-a-Lago club. He mentioned having a falling out with Epstein a long time ago, well before the full extent of Epstein's criminal behavior became a global scandal. These statements represent a significant shift from his earlier, more positive comments and reflect an attempt to create distance as the severity of Epstein's crimes came to light. The historical record thus shows an acquaintance that soured, according to Trump, years before Epstein faced his final legal battles, but the initial association continues to draw attention and questions from the public and media alike. The narrative took a fresh turn in June 2024 when Elon Musk, the prominent tech billionaire, made striking claims about Donald Trump and the Epstein files. Musk posted on his social media platform, X, formerly Twitter, asserting that Trump is in the Epstein files, and further suggested that this alleged presence was the real reason they have not been made public. He even urged his followers to mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. As part of his posts, Musk also shared archival footage from NBC dating back to 1992, which showed both Trump and Epstein at a party. These direct accusations from such a high-profile individual immediately amplified the discussion surrounding Trump's connection to Epstein, sparking widespread media coverage and public debate. It's important to understand the backdrop against which Elon Musk made these assertions. His claims emerged during a period of a very public and rather bitter feud between himself and Donald Trump. This disagreement reportedly began over differing views on significant domestic policy, specifically a mega bill proposed by Trump and its potential impact on the national debt. Musk had previously been a supporter of Trump during the 2024 election cycle and had even briefly served as a special advisor to the government. However, their relationship had clearly deteriorated, with Musk accusing Trump of ingratitude and Trump claiming he had asked Musk to step down from his advisory role. Musk's explosive Epstein-related claims were therefore made in a highly charged atmosphere of personal and political animosity between the two men. In response to Elon Musk's specific claims regarding the Epstein files, Donald Trump issued strong and unequivocal denials. Through his own social media platform, Truth Social, and likely through other channels, Trump has consistently refuted any insinuation of involvement in Epstein's criminal activities. He has specifically denied ever visiting Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, known infamously as Little St. James, which was a central location for many of Epstein's crimes. Trump has also denied flying on Epstein's private jet, often referred to as the Lolita Express. These denials are consistent with his broader position of having had no part in or knowledge of Epstein's illegal conduct, maintaining that their association was superficial and ended years ago. The controversy surrounding Musk's claims was further intensified by the ongoing delays in the full public release of the Epstein files. In February 2024, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a first phase of declassified documents, but these largely contained information that was already in the public domain, which disappointed many who were anticipating new revelations. By May 2024, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, indicated that there was no specific timeline for the release of the remaining files. This lack of transparency and the slow pace of disclosure have understandably frustrated many people, including some of Trump's own supporters, and created an environment where speculation and unverified claims, such as those made by Musk, can gain significant traction and public attention. Despite the swirling allegations, particularly those recently amplified by Elon Musk, it is fundamentally important to state clearly that, as of this moment in June 2025, there is no public evidence or any official accusation that directly links Donald Trump to any wrongdoing in connection with Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise. While his name has appeared in some court documents, as previously mentioned, these references have not, to date, included allegations of illegal activity or complicity on his part. The public discourse is often filled with speculation, but the distinction between unverified claims, even from prominent individuals, and established corroborated facts backed by evidence presented in a court of law, or through official investigations, remains absolutely paramount for a clear understanding. The situation is further complicated by various developments, including the unfortunate death by suicide of Virginia Giuffre in early 2024. Giuffre was one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, and her lawsuits were instrumental in bringing much of the information about Epstein's network into the public domain. While her death means she cannot provide further testimony, her previous statements and allegations against various individuals remain part of the extensive public record. Her bravery in speaking out has been widely acknowledged. However, it is worth reiterating that in her numerous public statements and legal filings that named many powerful men, she never accused Donald Trump of any sexual misconduct or direct involvement in Epstein's trafficking operations, which is a significant point to remember. In an era increasingly dominated by rapid-fire social media commentary and partisan narratives, it is more crucial than ever to approach such sensitive and serious topics with a commitment to factual accuracy. Claims made during public feuds between high-profile personalities, such as the one between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, should be viewed with a degree of caution and scrutinized for supporting evidence before being accepted as truth. The source and motivation behind allegations are important considerations. Responsible reporting and public understanding must be grounded in verified information from credible sources, such as official court records, law enforcement investigations, and reputable journalistic inquiries, rather than being swayed by sensationalism or uncorroborated online assertions. Ultimately, the public's profound interest in the Jeffrey Epstein saga and the persistent questions about everyone in his orbit are entirely understandable given the depravity of his crimes and the vulnerability of his victims. The calls for transparency and the full release of all relevant files continue to resonate widely as people seek accountability and a complete picture of how such abuses could occur. However, achieving true understanding and justice requires patience and a steadfast adherence to the principles of due process and evidence-based conclusions. Until more concrete, verifiable information comes to light through official channels, it is essential to differentiate between what is known for certain and what remains in the realm of speculation or accusation.